Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of the Cheap Seats. But this week, it's the FPL show. We've already had our normal Cheap Seats. Now we've got the FPL show. We've got former champions. We've got guys who let it go. We've got current champions in the room who are going to give you all their tips and tricks to getting you into the new season. It is not necessarily about knee-jerk since we're in game week 2, but there could be some other knee-jerk things. I've just got one issue, and I'm going to ask Dean this, who's got some pretty nice glasses there. Dean, this price increase from Erling Haaland was a little bit too early. Very, very early.
Early, but also expected, I think.
So we were supposed to put him in the team the moment he scored that second goal. You were like, okay, Kane out, Haaland did.
I guess if you're an experienced FPL manager like myself, you did it on Sunday night because you knew what was going to happen on Sunday evening. And I think a lot of people probably went Kane because that fixture against Southampton looked good. And if you tell anyone that Spurs scored 4 goals, you're saying, okay, Kane or Son must have got 1 or maybe 2. And for them to walk away with nothing, I think, Sanchez got an assist, is a bit of an anomaly. And then a lot of people, after watching the Community Shield, seeing Haaland miss one of the opening goals or open goal, they kind of employed that little bit of a wait and see mentality. And then for him to get that penalty, basically shove anyone else away that was thinking of doing it, means he's on penalties then by the looks of it. Pep obviously said whoever's confident will take it, but he looks the most confident. And then to see KDB put one of those balls through that he just ran onto, which everyone was imagining in preseason, it just makes him kind of essential. That coupled with an away fixture or a home fixture, to Bournemouth, it's literally just the perfect storm. And if you don't have Haaland in your team now, you're going to fall probably further back. So Kane versus Chelsea is obviously a tougher fixture at Stamford Bridge, which Spurs often struggle there. So I think that was the reasoning. But yeah, I can't recall that we've ever seen a price change happen so quickly after a game, or especially after game week 1. And yeah, Monday morning, if you woke up thinking, I'll do it, sorry for you, no more cash unless you've got some in the bank. So it's a harsh game, but
we're going to talk about how to finagle your way in if you are like me and haven't done any transfers. But remember, we were running a competition here with Classic Shirt ZA, and we've got a winner. It was announced yesterday, and here he is. It's Cam Stevenson. You need to call him Cam Thomas. There's a golfer named Cam Thomas, I think. But he is Cam Stevenson. The Classic Shirts guys will be in contact with you. Remember, if you didn't win, you can still use the discount code CheapSeats99. Just let the guys know at Classic Shirts that we sent you, and you get 100 Rand off. Just a little bit less off your favorite football shirts. AB, you were in Estonia last week. You got your team in. You watched us last week. You got all the tricks in the trade from the guy who beat you. Who took your crown away last season, and the guy who's always at the top. I don't know why Dean's always at the top, but anyway, but never wins, which is fine.
Spurs.
How was your first week of FPL?
I was very average, mainly because I had a Spurs player in there. So Harry Kane did nothing. Your boy Gabriel Jesus did nothing.
Martinelli did something, and we told y'all put him in.
Marcus Rashford did nothing. That's my own fault. That's the hope inside me. Perisic, who I still think is a good long-term buy, didn't do much, but it's okay. Lessons learned. Salah scored. Luis Diaz was a gamble for me. We talked about him on the last show. Yeah. So look, lessons learned. It's week 1. Guys,
so let's go into your selections of the week. Remember, here at the FPL show, the guys will tell us the guys they're looking to transfer in, transfer out, the differentials of the week. It doesn't have to be in the squad, but something for you to think about, and possibly a captaincy option and idea. And the first one, we'll go with AB. AB, you've gone in on City. You've listened to Pep and was like, no, Jack was so important. And you brought Jack Grealish in, you brought Haaland in, you got Harry Kane out, you took Luis Diaz out. How did you manage that whole there's now a 2-point gap, 0.2 gap between Haaland and Kane. And how do you manage that? Because you
Yeah, look, I mean that's managed by Luis Diaz because he's an 8 midfielder, I think, and Grealish is 7.5 or 7, somewhere along those lines. But Grealish was interesting for me because I touch wood, hip rotation, my goodness. I think he's going to start more often than not. And I think he's going to start in that old Raheem Sterling position because now there's no more Raheem Sterling. Foden for me is likely going to be the guy who rotates often with the Bernardo Silvas or whoever. So I think if you're looking for an interesting differential, and you can't afford De Bruyne with Haaland, with Kane, with Salah, which is, I mean, when you don't have much of a squad after that, I think consider Jack Grealish. He's owned by 4%. He can, in a Villa shirt, definitely contribute to FPL points. He's yet to turn it up on the season for City, so maybe this was the year. And he's got the perfect target man over there. I think long term, though, we somehow need to get Haaland and Kane back into the same team. We're gonna have to do the maths there. I'll let you guys do the maths. Yeah, but I've gone for a differential captain as well. I think Salah will come good against Palace. Palace lost at home to Arsenal. Liverpool at Anfield are totally different Liverpool. So I'm excited. Cheap, I can't believe I'm saying this. I'm excited for Liverpool to get a win. Wow. I need to think about that.
Excited for Liverpool to get a win. I'm team always captain Salah. I'll go next. I currently am making no transfers. I don't want to lose value. I already taken the hit. I'm just hoping that Harry Kane can score a goal in August. And that's where I'm standing. There's also the whole Mitrovic situation, but Mitrovic also went up by 0.1. So I'm sitting there going, I don't want to lose, because effectively you're losing 0.4 in value if you do that little swap between Kane and Haaland, or even Mitrovic and someone else in the same price range. So that's where my issue lies there. But I'm standing pat. I don't want to do anything. It is the first game of the season. If Haaland got a 0.1 increase, Harry Kane better put 2 against this Chelsea team that looks a little weird and a little threadbare here and there. So maybe he can. Obviously, I'm backing a Spurs player, but Harry Kane is Harry Kane. My differential is Daniel Podence. And throughout these past few seasons with Dean and the guys, they've been speaking about looking guys who are playing out of position. Wolves are playing a false 9, and it's Daniel Podence. It's just like Pascal Gross at Brighton. If you don't have, I say have one of the two. If Gross is going to play the false 9 or Podence, pick one of the two. I went with Daniel Podence. That's where I'm going. I'm staying with Salah largely because Harry Kane can't score in August. So once September comes, I'll probably go to Harry Kane. Or if he's got his value back up, I'll then take him out for Erling Haaland if Erling Haaland's not at 13 by the time I try to bring him in. So it's a bit of a gamble. I'm standing pat. It was a bit of an average week. But there's no room for me to go apart from the other thing is look for another 4 defender who's going to play because Nico Williams didn't play this weekend. So if I played my bench boost, I'd have cried because the poor guy didn't even come on. But thanks for the Patterson call, by the way, guys. It was really, really cool. Let me go to Kent. Kent, my man, you are the defending champ. How was your week? First of all, are you top of the log, middle?
I had Kane. So I did well with my captain. Happy with Salah. Leon Bailey and Neto didn't really fire at all, so those little punts didn't really work out. But FPL isn't won in the first week. I just think all you need to do is just stay with the pack. I think the difference between me and who's first is about maybe 15 points, which you literally can. It can be a 1 weekend swing. I went with I heard rumors of possibly a Kane decrease and a Haaland increase in price, and I did make my transfer on Sunday night. I always was planning on making that transfer early. So maybe that's also some advice for next year, is to have a strategy for maybe the first 3 or 4 game weeks of just potential transfers based on fixtures. So yeah, I think Haaland will come in for Kane. I think the best way to navigate it, if you've missed out on the price drop of Kane, is to keep him like you are going to do. I think what can easily happen is Haaland comes off early against Bournemouth because the game's maybe finished in the first half. I think Pep will want Haaland to still play just to instill that confidence. But the same thing can happen at City, where there's goal scorers on the score sheet, but it's just not Haaland there. So you have to give Kane some credit as well. And I think Kane can score at Chelsea. I don't think their defense or their whole game was made them look really like world beaters. So my differential is Mitrovic. I don't have him, but I think he is someone that everyone was very much had their questions around. He is a player that does phenomenally well in the Championship. I think he scored 43 goals there last season. And then when Fulham were lost in the Premier League, he just had, I don't think he got more than 10 goals. So I think everyone is aware of us and has this at the back of their head. They don't know how Fulham are playing. They don't want to be caught in the same trap and then just have a Mitrovic who keeps dropping in price. And with him getting those 2 goals early on against a team like Liverpool shows that it doesn't actually matter what fixtures they have almost. They have tough fixtures, but he could score, and he looks like such a good number 9. He's so strong on the ball. He's just a dream number 9 for any team to have if he can keep this form up.
No, Marco Silva said it all over the weekend was, we're not going to make him play the ball on the ground. We're going to cross it in the air, and we're going to make him header it all the way through. And that gives Fulham an attack. That gives them a threat. And you saw what he did to Trent and Liverpool over the weekend. He's going to do that to a lot more defenders this week. And he always goes on to the wing back. So Manchester United is going to be crying. Arsenal probably might be crying, but Ben White's a bigger right back than anybody else. But a lot of teams are going to be crying. And I'm about to ride that wave. He's just gone up. And I've only got one player's gone up in value, but it hasn't. I don't know how it doesn't go through, because Martinelli's gone up by 1, but I don't get the value just yet. So
it has to go up by 0.2 for the players before you get the 0.1 benefit. Yeah.
Okay, you see that, and that's something I didn't know. I played FPL like for the last 10 years. I didn't even know that. So thanks for that. But getting Mitrovic in now, you're gonna have to try to figure out how to lose value and add it through. But I'm waiting for that, man. I'm riding that wave. I might just be like, hey, dude, here you go.
I think we shouldn't put too much emphasis on price drops and rises if you can afford a player. I think that's all. Like, if you holding back from a transfer just because it's almost like a pride thing. I think you make the right transfer. What I wouldn't recommend doing is taking a -4 already to transfer in.
Sorry, Amy.
I
was about to say it, but I'm glad Kane said it.
But I do think if you can afford a player and maybe your player that you want to sell has gone down in value or he has gone up in value, you do it. He will get you the points in the future, and you will be happy that you brought that player in.
Okay, that's some gems there from Kent. Dean, you've gone the Erling Haaland route. You've taken out Harry Kane. Your differential is the interesting one here. Darwin Núñez. What do you see in him? He didn't start for Liverpool. That was the surprising thing. They went with Firmino. But what do you make of Darwin Núñez, and why is he your differential this week?
Yeah, so I guess the differential for me is a bit two-sided. I think he's probably forced his way back into the starting 11 now with the performance he'd had in the Community Shield, and then at Fulham, him coming on, and that goal he scored was really good. So he's definitely saying, Klopp, I'm here, put me on the field, and I'm going to do what you need me to do. So for that side, I see him starting a lot more regularly. But the other thing for me is I need a Jesus alternative. So I need some striker around that price point that will kind of do the business. The one thing that getting Darwin in means is that you probably, you're only obviously limited to 3 players per team. So most people have Trent and Salah and probably either one of Robertson or Diaz. And now that means giving up one of your Liverpool spots to Darwin, which is why I'm not looking to make the change just yet. It's probably something I will be looking at doing. in the future, just because of that starting issue. But I've got no problem with moving on to Darwin if he starts playing more regularly. The one key thing just to point out to though is previously there were a lot of formations that kind of came out as template. We had the big at the back last year, which I think is still the case this year, but a lot of strikers are putting their names forward to perhaps play with 3 up front and a Haaland or Kane up front with a Jesus or a Darwin, and then as Ken said, like a Mitrovic as well. So kind of having that 3 up front strikers that are constantly going to play, and then you diminish your midfield a little bit. That's one of the options that I'm exploring at the moment. Just one thing to add on to that Mitrovic pick is the fixtures are decent for the next 2. I think it's Wolves coming up next for Fulham, but then they are some tough fixtures there. So I think from game week 9, Mitrovic is a no-brainer, where most people will be looking to use their first wild card. So I think he's going to become very popular after game week 8 or 9. So yeah, just strikers. There's a lot more value in strikers this year than there were last year, where no striker was performing, and you just loaded up on that midfield. Isn't Paul frozen? The one thing I wanted to ask you, Kent, why are you not going Son? Is he not in your thoughts
I just
at all?
think he's at a price range that I can't really afford him at the moment. I've already said I want a Salah, I want a Haaland or Kane. If I want Son in there, I can't go big at the back, and I see value at having big at the back for now. I do see that you managed to squeeze in a Son, a Kane, and a Salah, but it's to your detriment slightly, where you have to then sacrifice some value in other positions. I must give you credit also. Well, it's not over yet, but the Jesus bandwagon on game week 1, only landing with 2 points. I guess you came out unscathed since I think 75%.
I watched that game just scared out of my...
But I do think he's going to be scoring this weekend. I think at home he's going to be phenomenal, and that is possibly like, I guess for you it's quite hard to bring him in now. You can go sideways and go to our Haaland and stuff, but yeah, Son is someone that is not on top of my priority list, and I guess I got away slightly unscathed with anything there, and there's no real pressure because his ownership isn't that high at the moment, but he's definitely someone I have on my watch list.
Okay, guys. Any other sneaky captaincy picks before we close out the show? We've got Haaland, got Salah, David Raya.
Just triple captain. Fine. Good points.
Okay. Some guy triple captains Zinchenko, and he led for like a day.
There were 2 people like triple captains Zinchenko in the whole game.
Were they Ukrainian?
It's ridiculous.
It must be Ukrainian, guys.
They must be.
The one thing I do want to... The one thing I will point out here is I think after the performance of Kulusevski on the weekend, that Richarlison risk, if you're looking at Spurs assets, might be a little bit reduced. Obviously, Richarlison was banned for game week 1, so he couldn't play anyway. But the performance Kulusevski put in game week 1, I think it's going to be tough to drop him for Richarlison. So if you're looking at those £8 million midfielders like we were talking about previously, Kulusevski could be a decent one to have a look at, and at least you do get exposure to that Spurs side, which some of the fixtures post Chelsea are pretty good, and even including Chelsea, you can say is fairly decent. And it does just give that alternative to exactly what Kent was saying. Son's so overpriced, and if you want to go Haaland over Kane, at least you still have some exposure there on the attacking side. So just something to note, and he would also be a very differential captain, playing on that right-hand side with that left side of the fence at Chelsea, which you don't really know who's playing or who they're playing or what they're playing. So, yeah.
Okay,
Dean,
guys.
I do think going Kulusevski instead of Son at this point is an easier move because it's a sideways move from your 8 million midfielder, and he's a big punt. I think he's still got a ownership underneath 10%.
Yeah,
and he looked great on the weekend. So I think I would go Kulusevski before I look at the Son pick. I just think it's an easier move to make at this point.
100%.
Okay, guys, let's close out the show. Thank you very much for joining us. Remember, the deadline is Saturday at 12 p.m. South African time. So please do join us then. Remember, the show is brought to you by Classic Shirts today. So please go to their website and go have a look and see what you can find. Maybe you can always look at that Spurs Billabong shirt that might be making a debut this weekend. Who knows? Remember to use the CheapSeats 99 as a discount code. Just let them know we sent you. Outside of that, have a great week, guys. All the best for your FPL teams. Put in those transfers. Take those knocks like AB. Go sideways like Kent and Dean are trying to do. But make sure that at the end of the game week, you're the one smiling and not the one crying like some of us here in studio. Outside of that, thank you very much. Goodbye. Good night. And let's sale.